Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Aurum podcast. This bright, yes, it's bright Saturday morning. Wherever you are, it might be bright or cloudy, but welcome to our podcast today. I'm your host. My name is Tony Kuria, and welcome to the show that discusses all things in regards to human capital. The Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, a human resource and risk advisory consultancy that helps business build winning teams. Today, as we have been doing this month, we are discussing leadership that is leading from the front. And as usual, we thank God that we have a well drilled panel to deconstruct this particular discussion with us today. First and foremost, we have Madam Zipporah Kuria, the Managing Director of Aurum Consultants. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Secondly, we have my good friend. My good friend, in some ways, is my mentor in many areas. We've come along a long way in the journey of life. Mr. Douglas Nyamori, he's modestly, I'll say modestly, a business executive. Welcome, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Anthony, and good morning, everybody.
Thank you. And finally, we have our consultant. I always say a consultant always needs somebody to somebody to keep them in check. Madam Martha Thuku, a HR specialist of distinction. Madam Martha, welcome.
Thank you, Anthony, and good morning, viewers. And as always, when I'm introducing myself, I also like introducing where we work because we have services we offer that can be of assistance to many people who are watching. So I work with LVCT Health, and as I said, we support the government in matters HIV, AIDS, but more so for this aspect, we also have mental health programs where we support businesses, business owners in helping their staff navigate through stressful times. And right now, especially for the NGO sector, there is this issue of safeguarding that has come up that has to do with discrimination and respect at workplace. So we are also offering training on that so that we can all be compliant with the rules and regulations of our different donors. So if you have any need, you can reach me through Oram consultants, then I'll be able to connect you to the people who can sort you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Martha. Indeed, the role that you play is very powerful. The role that you always describe, especially for us who are leaders, it's very important for you to find a way to lead, to make sure that even the mental safety of your people, the physical safety of your people, is something that you're working with. So today, as we deconstruct this issue of leadership, we are looking at it and saying that leading from the front is more than just a leadership style. It is about a mindset. The best way to master leading from the front is to understand what it means and why it makes your business more efficient. Now, let me begin with the lead consultant here at Aurum, Madam Zipporah. Kindly tell us, when we talk about mindset, from your perspective, what do we mean by the right mindset as a leader?
Thank you, Anthony, for that question. And I think I will start like Mother always talks about what is mindset. And it's always good to learn from others. And when I was looking at this discussion, I realized as leaders we need to have the right mindset. And we have to develop. It has to be a very deliberate effort to have the right mindset as we lead others. And this involves having certain attitudes, beliefs, and expectations that every leader must have in a nutshell. And when we're talking about developing the right mindset, it's very key. It's a critical element of leadership. As a leader, you must strive, you must decide, you must have the will to have the right mindset as you're leading people. It's being in the right frame of mind when situations come, when people come to you and they have different challenges or they need to get assignments done. The truth is, as a leader, people expect you to have answers, and I'm sure Mr. Douglas will help us understand this. He's probably been in leadership longer than some of us. And people will come to you because they actually think you have the solution. So you need to be in the right mindset to be able to think, and focus your thoughts, not just for now, but in the future, even as you're responding to their challenges. You need to be able to respond to situations and not just respond for the sake of it, but respond to them in the right way. Because you have to remember there's an organization you're running, there's a responsibility you've been given, and you have to do that responsibility right. So you need to be able to react or to handle those situations when they come and handle them in the right way that is beneficial to the business. So I think there's a lot that we can talk about being in the right mindset, but I think it starts with the attitude that you should have as a leader. Sometimes when we are given leadership positions, we allow power to get into our minds, and we don't realize as a leader people are watching us, people are following us. And just like little children, people will very rarely do what you tell them to do, but they will actually follow what you do. A lot of times, yes, they might do what you have told them, but many times they will actually follow your action. So this is very important for us to understand as a leader. How do I need to behave? What kind of attitudes do I need to have? What kind of language do I need to use at the workplace? I've seen situations at the workplace where you find the leader is using very bad language. Then what do you expect of your staff? What do you expect of the people who are following you? They will actually use the same language on the people they are leading. And what happens at the end of it, you end up creating a very toxic work environment that is not conducive for people to work in. So I think we need to create the right attitudes. We need to be very deliberate, and we need to be focused to be good leaders.
Wow. Thank you, Zippy. That was a very good place to begin. Issues to do with attitudes. Douglas, what's your take from your place where you stand, where you sit as a business executive? What's your take about the mindset of about developing a right mindset as a leader?
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. I think Zippy has really nailed it on the head, because it is a soft skill. It is an attitude. It's a belief system that you have. And so you then choose that I want to be a good leader. So that's the mindset. So once you choose to be a good leader, then what are the attributes then show that you have the mindset of being a good or a great leader?
Yes.
And I think for me, the first thing that comes to mind is that you have a genuine desire in the success of the organization and the success of the people. I was impressed by how Martha introduces herself. She also introduces her organization with such enthusiasm. So you can tell that she has a genuine interest in her organization achieving its goals and succeeding.
Yes.
So that is key. And also having a genuine interest in others' success. So that is, your leader above you, if you have one, and the people below you who you're leading. And that is something that will easily be seen, that you really do have a genuine interest in my success as an individual. And therefore that will translate in you being able to assist me achieve my goals and then achieve the goals of the organization. And who wouldn't love to have such leadership? And I think that leadership exists, though some may think that they're few and far between, but they do exist.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is a good place to start from. And as a leader, I think it's important to know that you do have responsibility. That's what you're taking up. And so you have an acceptance of that responsibility. So you take that responsibility with joy, and that then exhibits. I think the other thing that is key is that you then able to demonstrate humility. Now, humility is not a false humility, but a true humility
Yes.
is exhibited by confidence that is born of a secure person.
Yes.
Not confidence that is born out of your title and your position, but a confidence that you have because of your motivation.
Yes.
So you're at a place where if you then demonstrate your humility, you're able to communicate better because you can listen and get
Yes.
feedback, and you're also happy to provide feedback and communication to your staff and help them become better. Because if then you don't have this value, then it's hard for you to raise up people because you're insecure. So these are some things that I would raise as key to showing a good leadership mindset, Tony.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
many
Wow. Yes.
have other aspects that they would share as well.
Wow. Those are very powerful points, Dagi. I mean, indeed, you've confirmed that what Zippy has said, that leadership, right mindset is first of all about attitude. It's a soft skill. That is a soft skill whereby you're both confident and humble and responsible. When you're leading your people, that you're secure in yourself, and therefore you don't need to prove anything. And secondly, it's not about title. And therefore, if you really love your job and the company you're working for, it manifests. Therefore, you're able to lead your people. You're able to groom, leaders and all that. Those are very, to our viewers and listeners, those are very powerful points, and especially for those of us who are in leadership positions and who are entrepreneurs. That's what Douglas has said is very powerful because it is you as a leader who then uh, sets the groundwork for the culture of the company that you're working in. Martha, Gagi has complimented you. You're already displaying the right mindset, the right mindset, even by just your introduction. Now, tell us more from your view. As a HR specialist, as a HR executive, what's your take? What's your take on the right mindset of a leader?
Thanks, Tony. Now, when the gurus have spoken, I'm not sure what I can say.
Yes.
And I really appreciate what has come forth about leadership. I was thinking through this topic, and I was thinking about right mindset as a leader, and I was wondering exactly what is right mindset. So I've accepted that I'm a leader. So what is this mindset thing? And one of the things that came up is actually believing that I can do it, believing in myself, and as Douglas has said, not coming from the it's not motivated by pride, it's motivated in humility
Yes.
that I can do this. Because then imagine leading people who are better than you, and especially if they know that they are better than you, you're in trouble because they will not listen to what you're saying. I work so much for the last many years. I worked with doctors, and I came to learn it is very difficult to give to give a doctor to be managed by a non-doctor. They don't believe that someone who is not a doctor can be their manager. So, and I've seen some struggles when like my previous engagement, we kind of would want to go that way based on the skills of the person we want to engage. And you find that as long as they're not a doctor, the doctors are struggling
Yes.
reporting to that person. So you have to know your material so
Yes.
that even the people who are leading, they really have something to look up to. So the other thing of developing this, you really need to know what it is. And one of
Yes.
the things I've realized is emotional intelligence is important.
True.
to be a good leader. So you are able to tackle things courageously, even when there are challenges. You know, being a leader doesn't mean that you are just being nice to your people. You should
Yes.
be able to communicate good information and even very difficult information with emotional intelligence. Then when you fail as a leader, you need to acknowledge that your failures, they are not failures. They are learning. You know, those obstacles help you learn. You know,
Yes.
I was reading about the guy who came up with the bulbs. I can't remember his name, but he tried 999 times and it was not working. So at the 1,000th time it worked. And down there he had written, I have learned 999 ways of how not to do it. So, so this was someone who was courageous not to fail because he knew what he wants at the end result. So he tried, he knew it's doable. He was just trying to see which way is the best way to do it. So leaders are supposed to look at the obstacles and the failures as stepping stone to the greatness they are looking forward to. And more so for leaders, a leader is someone who is not fearing, even coaching the people under them. You know, there are some leaders who feel like, they become better than me, I lose my job. It's okay to lose your job because then work yourself out of your job
Yeah.
so that God then can give you a higher position because then you can't remain stagnant.
Yeah.
So a leader should be courageous to promote their people and to ensure that they are coached well, that even when he's not there, the organization will not fall. So those are just a few things that I can add about a right mindset of a leader. Thank you.
Wow. On a cold July morning, we are, as Jeff Koinange says, we are smoking. We are hearing some very deep stuff. Martha, you have said some very powerful things there about not being afraid to fail even when you're a leader. That's a very powerful point because, you know, leadership is basically going into the unknown, telling people, follow me. You don't know, sometimes you don't know where you're going. You don't know what is in the territory you're going. You are like Moses going into the wilderness. You do not know what is in the wilderness, but you have to take the step. And therefore, with your right mindset, as a leader, you have got to show bravery. I think Zippy also alluded to that. As a leader, you've got to show bravery even when you are not sure of what you're doing. Yeah, you've got to show bravery even as you go, even as you bring all these skills. You know, you're not afraid to fail. You say, okay, we failed, let's try it again. You've learned how it does not work in this way. Let's try it, you know, in a different way. And therefore, even to our listeners and our viewers, if you're like me and you're finding this session already warming you up, kindly send in your comments, send in your questions, send in your views about this issue of leadership because it's very wide. It's very wide, it's very deep, and and therefore there could be ideas that you have, you could be questions you could be having. How do I lead people who for example, last week we had about Generation Z. It was Generation Y or Z or Q. I mean, we had some very interesting leading, especially leading now. You know, post pandemic, you're leading a generation. You know, people like you, Martha, and I, and Douglas and Zipporah. We are starting to be considered as people who actually saw dinosaurs at some point. There are people who think I saw dinosaurs at some point because they think I'm really old. So, how do you lead this kind of people? How do you lead a generation that thinks very different from you? So these are questions as we go as leaders. If you're listening to us, you have suggestions, you have questions, kindly throw them in and we would love to deconstruct them because here we are discussing how you can lead from the front well. So now, it now leads me now to the
And
second.
Anthony, just before you probably move forward, I have a
Sure.
comment.
Mhm.
You know, when you talked about being brave, it reminded me of a time we had a project and we were working on it. And I like sharing from experience because I relate very well when I share experiences. And I remember, we were trying to figure out how do you do this. And Anthony asked me the question, how are you doing this? And I said, I honestly don't know. Yet he was, following, and he laughed and he said, I'm following you blindly. And I'm just talking about the point you've talked about, being brave as a leader. Sometimes there are situations you'll be faced with, and the truth is you actually don't have a solution, but you cannot show your team that you are scared or you don't know what to do and you're helpless. I think that's the worst place you can be as a leader, where you look like you're so helpless, you have no solutions. But on the flip side of it, I think it's also important for us as leaders to be open to learn, because if we are able to learn from other people and also allow other people to contribute to what we are doing, then we are able to learn and we are able to do things better together as a team. There's something we always talk about when we talk about leadership, and I know next weekend we'll be talking about this in depth, about serving with love. As a leader, you have to love people. You can't lead people unless you love people. If you don't love people, the truth is you're going to hurt people, you're going to wound people, and you need to love people for you to be able to lead them well. I always say, as a leader, you need to take it as a calling. It's not always a right that you're there. If we were to go back to the word of God, you've been placed in a place of authority, and God has allowed you to be there. So take your leadership seriously and lead your people well.
Thank you, Zippy.
But
That's
also,
a very important
Zippy,
point.
have you realized maybe your family the way you are brought up can also come to play when you are leading people? So if you don't work on yourself, and that's why the question is, how do you develop the right mindset? Because we grow with some different mindsets, and we can really hurt people who are under us because of the mindset I've grown up with. It really comes to play, and that's why this word developing the right mindset is important. And leaders need to really keep on, when you're a leader, you keep asking yourself, what else can I do? What else can I do to be a good leader? What kind of mindset do I need? Because then if you don't accept that you have a gap, then you will lead people with the way your dad led you. If it's positive, then God. If it's negative, you still bring it to the people you are leading. So that's why it's so important to ask yourself, how do I develop a right mindset to be a leader? Thanks.
Excellent.
Wow, Martha, that's today we are having gems here. I said it is, like Jeff Koinange, things are getting hot here because leadership, as you say, Martha, and that's something also, Douglas said. You have to be very humble as a leader because, the way you're driving a trailer. Have you ever looked at? I'm told that I've never driven a trailer, but those who drive trailers say there are certain blind spots on their side mirrors. There's certain places they don't see. They are driving this very huge vehicle, but there's certain areas, gaps that they are not seeing. And you, as a leader, especially if you're leading a big team of people, there are certain gaps that you may not have, and you rely on side mirrors, who are probably your advisors and all that. And even they will tell you, hey, if you make that decision, this will happen. And therefore, as a leader, you've got to be humble to know at some point you are a giant. Somebody considers you a giant, and you make a decision, and as a giant, you probably step on a grasshopper, and that's the end of it. So it's important as leaders, even as we develop a mindset, as we keep developing, we also be humble as we go, so as to know that we are still learning even as we go. And that now brings me the issue of blind spot brings me to the second point. What are the pitfalls that we should be aware of as leaders? Let me start with Dagi. Just from your perspective, what pitfalls should we be aware of when we are leading?
Good question, Tony. In no particular order. I think the first pitfall would be using your position and
Yes.
power as your main reference point in terms of how you're going to lead people. So rather than deciding that I'm leading by example. So I think that's the first pitfall, because then you would always project your position rather than an example. So I think that is usually the first pitfall. I am, by the way, you forgotten that I am the CEO. You know, I have made this decision because I am the CEO.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, people already know that you're the CEO. They haven't forgotten.
Yes.
They want to
That's
buy
true.
into the decision. They want to buy into the decision, and they want to feel confident and run with that decision. And
Yes.
so, yeah, you are coming to the office because I said so. You will come at 7 because I said so. Rather than you setting the example and being someone who keeps time and demonstrating the same to the people. So I think that's. I think the other one is making decisions by yourself without consulting or without engaging others, so that they have a buy-in into your decisions.
Yes.
And coupled with that, also just making decisions that maybe others should be making. So, for
Yes.
example, I am not a HR expert. So if Zippy and Martha were working in an organization, I would have to, allow them to make HR decisions and guide me on those decisions because they are the experts as such. So not deciding that as the leader you know everything and you will make every decision. Of course, ultimately the responsibility lies with you.
Yes.
But you then are able to empower your people to make decisions that they do need to make. Of course, that is coupled with micromanaging. I think the biggest challenge that I find a lot in organizations is just communication. Either communicating the vision, communicating your expectations, communicating, during review of performance, communicating clearly, and also receiving communication, which is not.
Yes. Yes.
You don't want to be the leader who people, the leader is naked, but who will tell him? Who will bear the part? We are afraid of him, and so things are going south. But because we can't give him feedback, or he only wants a certain kind of feedback, then we will only give him that kind of feedback. When we have another kind of feedback, we'll keep it to ourselves because he doesn't appreciate. So communication is if there are no open lines and honest lines of communication, then that's a major pitfall for any, and indeed then for any organization. I think the other one is just keeping the people that you lead accountable for their performance. Of course, then you have to empower them and resource them to be able to perform. You have to, of course, make sure that you have given clear, the clear route map and guidelines that would then help them get to a performance level that is expected. But you then have to also make sure that they're accountable for their performance so that they can measure and have opportunity to grow and be responsible for themselves in terms of being accountable for performance. Yeah, but I think as a leader, there are many pitfalls. The other one that I think Martha and Zippy shared is just the ability to face challenging situations. With courage, said, and just an ability to be willing to surmount them, but to try and surmount them. I've been in situations where the challenges have been, but it must be that as a bottom line, as a leader, you did demonstrate courage and did your best. Try and surmount the challenge rather than cower away. So those are some of the pitfalls I'll probably ask the HR experts to comment on how to motivate your staff.
Yeah.
Because staff is a problem in waiting. Yeah, but I was just going to say just a couple of questions I noted, rather some comments I read somewhere.
Yes.
That says that if employees don't know what to do, if they don't know what to do, you have a communication problem. If they don't know how to do the job, you have a training problem or maybe a recruitment problem. If they don't want to do the job, you have a motivation problem. And if they don't know why it's important, then you haven't sold the vision correctly. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Over to you.
Wow. That's deep. For us who are for the HR experts, mmejisikilia nyinyi wenyewe. Communication is everything. If they don't know what to do, if they don't know what to do, if they don't want to do it, there is an issue somewhere. If they don't know how to do it, then there is a training issue. Yeah, either they are not well trained and all those kind of things. So, Dagi, those are very good points that you have brought up. Indeed, you know, the issue of using your position, you know, telling people what you are instead of leading by example. You know, let me stop on that one because that one is very powerful. I have a friend of mine, and he's actually a mutual friend to all of us, to you, Dagi, to Zippy, and to Martha. He's an executive now with an insurance in the insurance field, and he keeps telling me. He told me a story once about how he entered into the industry and how he grew up, and I thought that was very powerful because he told me that he entered the insurance industry as a messenger, but he noted that the top executive at that company then, when our friend would go to work at say 7, he would find this CEO in the office. So he decided, let me try go a bit earlier. And he reaches at a certain point, he realizes this guy is in the office. So he went inquiring, when does this boss come in? He was told by the PA, no, the boss comes early because he has to set the tone for himself and for the organization. And our friend decided to start doing the same, to be very early in the office, to organize himself, though he was a messenger, to be a leader, to be, as it were, as a CEO of himself in his messenger position. And we keep talking, and right now he rose from being a messenger. Now he's a very senior executive in one of the insurance companies, and that tells you something, that the CEO whom he was working under then led by example. He inspired without knowing a low cadre staff to decide, you know what, I'm going to be doing what this guy does. I mean, this guy comes in the office, he will reach at 6, he's in his desk working, getting himself ready for work. He inspired somebody who followed his example and without knowing, mentored him from afar to be an executive today. So Dagi, that's a very powerful point. And to our viewers and listeners, if you're an executive, business executive, you're an entrepreneur, you're running your business, the people who are following you are watching you. You know, the way we are told, like children, if you're a parent, if you're leading children, they do what you do, not what you say. So as an executive, yes, you have to say, you've got to communicate, but what you do matters more than what you say, because people will follow what you say. Zippy, what can you add on concerning the pitfalls that we must be aware of as leaders?
Thank you, Anthony. Just to pick up from what Mr. Douglas was talking about, he made a comment that caught my attention, that sometimes employees can be at that place where they think the leader is naked, but who is going to tell them? And that actually tells, as a leader, probably you have created an environment where people are actually afraid of you, or they don't want to come near you. You know, we were talking, I think, 2 weeks back, and we were saying you don't want to be that kind of a leader. You walk into the office, and people were so happy, and all of a sudden they become so serious, and sometimes serious doing nothing. And it just shows, it just reflects on you as a leader. Something else he has touched on, communication. And I see this all the time, and it's something that as entrepreneurs we need to learn, where we make a lot of assumptions, where we don't communicate clear expectations to our team members. And what I've realized, when as leaders we make assumptions, interestingly, employees on the other side make assumptions. So what happens, you start realizing there's an environment that is so conflicting and everyone is unhappy. The leader is not happy with the performance of their people. The staff are not happy because they're feeling they've not been given the support they need. So just to touch on that issue of communication is so critical. And I think as leaders, we need to avoid the pitfall of not giving clear expectations to our team members. I realize when expectations are so clear, it becomes very easy to hold people accountable, and people are happier because they know this is expected of me and this is what I'm going to do. The other thing is not being professional as a leader. Again, I see this all the time as a SMEs, and I'm not so sure whether it's a training gap for SMEs and business leaders specifically, because a lot of times you will realize there are situations where the environment is not professional and it's starting from the top, where things are just handled in a way that you're wondering, are we running a business? Are we running your home? Are we running Anduka? What are we really running? We are not running the business from a professional perspective. Decision making is something else Mr. Nyamori has talked about, where, as a leader, sometimes you make very unilateral decisions. And sometimes you make decisions from a very uninformed position and you make mistakes, the blind spots you're talking about. And when things go south, what happens? Sometimes we tend to blame someone else who was supposed to have made the decision, but you never consulted. You made those decisions without consultation. So we need to avoid these pitfalls, because I think they curtail the growth of the organization. They create an environment that is not a thriving work environment. And of course, the other thing is being reactive and not proactive as a leader is another pitfall. If you're going to resolve issues when they happen, then there's a problem. You need to be able to plan ahead. You need to foresee challenges ahead. You need to foresee danger ahead and plan how you will handle this. It's like when we're talking about risk mitigation. You cannot wait for a risk to happen for you to resolve the problem. You need to mitigate. Think about, if this happens, then how do we need to respond to it? So we need to stop being reactive and being proactive in terms of how we lead our people. Because if we are reactive, then that is exactly how our people are going to behave. They're not going to plan. They're going to be reactive, and they're going to react when you ask something and you realize it's not being done, and it's when they're starting to do. The other thing, as a leader, we need to avoid the pitfall of not self-developing ourselves. If you don't read what is happening in your industry or in your area, get more equipped, you will find yourself in a situation where it's challenging. I've seen situations, and I would want to hear whether mothers face these challenges, where you find in an organization you have actually employees who are more qualified than the leader. And as we always say, we want to employ, as a business person, I want to employ people who actually are more qualified than me, because I need them to help me take the business forward. But think about your second tier leadership. If that leadership team is not well prepared, they are not educated, they are not informed, and you have lower cadre staff who are more educated, then you start finding a lot of challenges. And I see this all the time. And now you're stuck in a situation where you have a leader who is leading people, but the people they are leading, they actually know better. They're the ones running the department. And you start again finding issues of sabotage or disrespect coming up. So we need to learn what are these challenges that we would face as leaders, and how do we mitigate that? How do we become proactive rather than reactive in resolving these challenges? Back to you, Anthony.
Wow, wow, that is awesome. That is awesome, Zippy. That's a very powerful point that you brought up. Issues regarding self-development. Martha, from your perspective, I know Zippy has hinted a few areas where, from a HR perspective, from a HR leadership perspective, these kind of things pop up. Especially, I know you have been more into the NGO and banking world, where things are a bit more formalized and standardized. Zippy has, as a consultant, she's given her perspective from consulting to SMEs, which sometimes are really big, but things are not functional at all. Is it the same for you from your HR perspective? Having having been a HR professional in a more formal environment, do these gaps still come up? Do these pitfalls still show up?
Thanks, Anthony. And what I think, whether it's a big organization or a small organization, in a big organization, if you are given a department to lead, it is just like your small SME. So at the end of the day, the situation is the same. And in my thinking, when you maybe are starting a business, first of all, you are the one who understands that business. And that's why I agree with Douglas and Zippy that communication is key, because then you need to communicate the expectations and get to know that everyone understands what we are supposed to do, what we are about, whether it's a department, whether it's an SME, what are we selling? All of us are aware. And now the rules for delivery. It's very important you communicate your expectations. So first of all,
Yes.
and we said earlier, you must know your matter before you download to other people. Because if one of the people you are leading just gets to learn that you are not confident in what you're doing, man, they'll capitalize on it 1,000%. And they will think they gave me a boss who doesn't know anything. So they start thinking that they are better than their bosses. And that conflict, I can tell you, is not the best to handle. So as a leader, you really need to be self-aware of your leadership. You really need to be aware of your material. Zippy has talked about learning. Let me tell you, continuous learning is a must for a leader, because technology changes every day. Things change every day. Like where I work in the HIV world, maybe whatever it is that we're giving ARVs last year is not what is happening this
Now.
year. And as a leader, you need to know that your team knows that this has changed. So you cannot prescribe what we used to prescribe last year. What if you don't know that we have a new product now? The government or the UNAIDS have come up with something new because maybe the previous one was affecting the patients. So you continue prescribing this old thing, and then there's someone in your team who know, by the way, this has been stopped. You even lack respect as a leader. So those are some of the pitfalls. You should never let the people below you to be better than you, because then you are the one who is leading them. You are the one who should tell them what are the new things that they need to apply, not them telling you, by the way, there's a new drug. Please, let's not use that. That's when you start running to the books or to the internet. Oh, what have they said? And then also, like Douglas said, some leaders really like thinking they are the bosses. So if you are the boss, please act it. So it's not just a statement, just be that boss that you think you are. So you can't keep on saying, oh, I'm the head of the department. And so you find like you'll ask so. But you can demonstrate being the head by being the leader without even saying it. So even people know, oh, that is the leader. And you have not even said it because you are demonstrating. So for me, and also don't fear, some leaders fear delegation so much because they think if I don't do it, it will not be done well. And what we have learned is it's okay to let someone fail because they will learn how not to do it next time. So let people fail, but next time they will do it better. So you should just let. So even when you delegate, don't let don't give this is how you should do it. If you give it to Martha, let Martha do her way. We want the end result. You'll be so frustrated if you keep on saying, I needed you to draw a line here. Martha doesn't draw a line, but the end result is the same thing. For me, I have learned a lot from even the teams I'm leading. I have this thing of wanting things done my way. And it really didn't work for me, because then the teams I'm leading, they are also professionals. We have read the same books, we have gone to the same schools. It's just that I'm just their leader. So, but there's a way I always wanted things done. And so, what that used to do for me, I would come home feeling so frustrated every day. Like, so I wondered, why am I making my face look old because of people? Because of wanting things done my way. Every time I'm so tired, angry, like, so I let go. Letting go is a good thing for a leader. As long as you see these people are qualified, they know what they are supposed to do. All you need to do is guide. When they come to you for consultation, that guidance is important. But now you let them do their thing. Because if you keep on insisting on having things done your way, you'll really be frustrated. Those are the few
True.
things I wanted to add on that one. Thank you.
Wow, wow. Thank you, Martha. Those are very important points about you've given the guidelines, you've communicated effectively, you've let them, your people run. All you need is the results. It's delivered on time, it's delivered well. Let there be a place of self expression. Our time is really gone. I can see we are already quarter past, we have already done 45 minutes past. And therefore, what I wanted to ask Mr. Nyamori, what I would probably ask as we close, what's your, just briefly, what's your take about leading from the front? How would you summarize it? How do you summarize um, leading from the front as a leader, this whatever capacity that you could be? How do you say it in a nutshell?
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. I'll try and be as brief as possible. I think to lead from the front and to lead with to have a good leadership mentality, you first have to decide you're going to lead yourself well, so that you are projecting good leadership to the people that you're leading. So leading yourself well means then you're setting a very good example. So if I'm leading myself well, from what time, how I keep my time, how I dress, how I handle people, humility and all the attributes that we've talked about. They all begin with a decision to lead yourself well. I think, from a personal level, when I struggle with how I'm leading myself, then it will project. It will project in the organization, and it will project
Yes.
at home. That I am struggling with how I'm leading myself. I am now less organized. I am now, all over the place. My emotions are out of control. So I'm now insecure. I'm not leading myself well. So it begins with you choosing to lead yourself well, and then the rest will be easier to do.
Wow.
That would probably be what I would say in a nutshell. Thank you, Tony.
Man, Dagi, thank you, man. I'm so glad we brought Dagi. I mean, just in a nutshell, guys, ladies and gentlemen, lead yourself well. Zippy, what's your conclusion concerning this leadership aspect?
Thank you, Anthony. I think my parting shot is your people will not go where you're not willing to go. If you want your people to jump high, you must be willing to jump higher. And you must lead from the front if you want them to follow.
Wow. If you want people to jump, you must jump higher. That should be a quotable, something quotable attributed to Zipporah. Martha, What's your parting shot? Give us well that you can run with as we go.
Mine would be, it's good to know you are a leader and you also are good at it. And I
Yes.
quickly give a story of my workmate who was telling us he was caught by police. He was in his car with his family. The police started making noise at him. He came out and pulled the police. He told the police, "You see those people in that car? They think I'm Superman. So now when you bring me down in their presence, I cannot accept. So now tell me what you're telling me when they are not hearing." That is a guy who knew he's a leader from home. You must know you are a leader and you don't let anyone come and interfere with that. Thank you.
Sir, I I asked for a gem. I got a gold mine. Wow. That's an awesome one. Mother, I like that. The fact that you know your place and yeah, you understand where you're coming from and how you're leading your people. And guys, today I've enjoyed our session big time. I don't know whether our viewers and listeners enjoyed it like I did. I was here. I've been just writing notes that I've been hearing and receiving. And indeed, to those who are listening to us via Facebook and YouTube, I'm sure you have enjoyed listening to what we had to discuss today. So if you'd like to know more, you can follow us on at Aram Consultants on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. You can get in touch with us through our website and even by phone. And even as we come to a close, we want to tell you out there, remember that you can train your staff on leadership. Yes, it's difficult sometimes to know what to do, especially if you are chief executive, you are running an SME of 20, 30, 50, 100 employees, and you're feeling, in terms of leadership, there is a shambles. Here at Aurum Consultants, we do provide training how to lead your people in leadership, training your people on leadership on how to lead well. We are NITA certified, and we're able to provide these trainings from a very, from a perspective of SMEs being strengthened to be able to achieve what they need to achieve. So, having said that, it's a joy to have been here with you today. We appreciate your time joining us this Saturday morning, and we are saying we'll have the same next week. As Zippy hinted, we'll be talking about leadership from a place of serving with love. But until then, thank you, Douglas, for joining us. Thank you, Martha, for joining us and for giving us deep insight. Zippy, thank you for giving insights that are pretty deep. And thank you, our listener and our viewer, for joining us today. Until next week, take care. God bless.